Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, IELTS Vocabulary Listening Practice topic name is 35 Plus IELTS Vocabulary Essential Words, Part 04.
Welcome. And while that's the specific title for today's materials, what we're really doing here is, well, it's a crucial deep dive for anyone serious about mastering high-level English.
That's it, exactly.
We're zoning in on these high-frequency but often quite nuanced words. They really are like the structural steel for sophisticated communication, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's the mission today. It's really not enough just to look up a definition in the dictionary. We need to grasp the full utility of these terms so you can actually deploy them naturally across all four areas you're listening, reading, writing, and speaking. If you're aiming high, say band 7 or above, these words demonstrate that control over your lexical resources.
Control, that's the perfect word for it. For high achievers, we really have to stress how critical it is to understand not just the core meaning, but the context, the typical collocations.
Right.
And importantly, the subtle differences between synonyms. Take our first word, to administer. You need to get that while manage, oversee, direct, control are related.
Yeah, they feel similar.
They do, but they're not always interchangeable. Showing you understand that subtle flexibility, that's precisely what lifts your formal writing and speaking to the next level.
I find that distinction fascinating. It's where the real skill lies. Right. So, okay, let's start with two foundational action words. They kind of set things in motion and then keep them going. To administer and to maintain.
Good starting point.
So when we talk about to administer, we're looking at a formal, often kind of authoritative type of management, right? And it seems to pop up in very different sectors.
That's right. How we administer something really changes based on what that something actually is. The sources we looked at outline three main contexts. Let's start with institutional management, governance.
Okay.
This involves authority, implementation, usually within some kind of organizational structure.
Right. Like setting policies. So for instance, you wouldn't just say the school principals suggest new policies. No, they will administer those policies starting next term.
Exactly.
It's that active, controlled handling of putting rules into place within a formal system. It's governance, really, in action.
Then, moving away from organizational policy, the second context is more about controlled physical application. You see this a lot in the medical field.
Oh, okay.
When doctors administer medication, they're doing a very controlled, very measured application of a substance. It follows a specific plan. If you just said manage medication here.
It sounds a bit weaker.
It sounds less precise, less formal, perhaps. Administer really signals that measured, specialized action. It carries that weight of responsibility.
Got it. And the third context?
That one's more about financial or resource allocation. Think of a government agency. Maybe it's tasked with administering large funds designated for, say, public infrastructure projects.
Okay, so managing the money flow.
Essentially, yes. Managing the disbursement, the oversight of the finances, making sure they're used and tracked as intended. The common thread across all three contexts, governance, physical application, finance, is that sense of formalized responsibility and measured execution.
So mastering administer across those three domains really shows advanced fluency.
It definitely does. Now, if administering is about setting things up and handling resources, then to maintain is the crucial follow-up action. It's all about preserving the state that's been achieved or keeping something at a consistently high level.
Right. So maintain links to preservation, upholding standards, basically resisting decline or decay.
Precisely. We can think about this in terms of, say, physical state, quality standards, or even intangible things like relationships.
Okay.
Let's start physical. Health, for example. Regular exercise helps you maintain your physical health. You're preserving that optimal state over time. It takes continuous effort, right? It's not passive.
No, definitely not. Then there's the industrial or professional context. This word must be huge there.
Oh, absolutely. A successful company doesn't just hit high standards once and then relax. It constantly strives to maintain them. This really emphasizes that need for consistent quality control, upholding standards against all sorts of pressures, internal and external.
Makes sense. And the third area you mentioned, intangibles.
Yes, the emotional and interpersonal. It's incredibly important, isn't it, to maintain friendships over time?
Yeah, his work.
It does. It speaks to nurturing those connections, sustaining them through ongoing effort and attention. That versatility, preserving something measurable like quality or nurturing an emotional bond makes maintain such a useful word, especially in academic writing about human behavior or systems.
Okay, so let's turn the page, as it were. We've looked at action. Now let's move to assessment. Once systems are administered, standards are maintained.
Yeah.
Well, we need words to judge how well things are actually going.
Exactly. We shift now to describing quality, performance, measurement.
And often things aren't amazing or disastrous, they're just...
Which brings us squarely to the middle ground, often the most frustrating area, actually, the problem of average, which is captured perfectly by the word mediocre.
Right, mediocre. The definition is something like only average quality, acceptable but not really good or distinguished. The synonyms you see are fair, average, ordinary, middling.
They all point to something unremarkable, uninspired, subpar even.
It's that slightly painful feeling when something is just fine, nothing more.
But, for an advanced learner, using mediocre often carries a stronger critical weight than just saying average. If you describe, say, a film plot as mediocre...
You're not just saying it was okay.
No. You're suggesting it lacked originality, maybe a failure of imagination. It implies a low bar was met, but the potential completely wasted.
And that connects directly to the personal context, doesn't it? Like getting mediocre grades when you know you have high potential.
Exactly. It points to a failure, conscious or unconscious, to maximize that potential, settling for just being adequate. The sources really stress this aspirational idea. Students should actively avoid settling for mediocre results. It becomes a standard you refuse to accept for yourself.
So moving up from mediocre, what if performance is actually noticeably better?
Then we need a word to describe that noticeable impact. That word is appreciable. It means the change or the amount is large enough to be noticed, to be measured, to be considered important. Think considerable, noticeable, significant.
This feels like a great word for more formal writing, academic papers, reports.
Yeah.
Because it implies measurability, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. If there's an appreciable difference in quality between two products, that change is detectable, quantifiable, and it genuinely affects the outcome or the user experience. You can point to it.
Okay. What about other contexts? Finance.
Very common there. In financial reporting, you'll often hear about an investment yielding appreciable returns. This means a measurable, significant gains, the kind of boost that visibly impacts the portfolio's value.
And you can use it negatively, too.
Yes, to minimize impact.
Yeah.
If there's a storm, let's say, reporting that no appreciable damage occurred means the impact was negligible, minimal, too small to really matter or warrant major concern. The core idea is measurement. Either large enough to count or too small to count.
Got it. Okay, from the measurable, let's shift gears to something more emotional, informal critique, like the word lousy.
Lousy, yes. Much stronger and more visceral than mediocre. It means very poor or bad. Think awful, terrible, wretched.
Feels quite informal.
Its informality is key, definitely, but its expressive power is huge. If you want to convey strong dissatisfaction, lousy is very effective. Criticizing the service at a restaurant as lousy, that's a direct, pretty cutting indictment of poor standards. Very evocative.
And people use it to talk about how they feel, right?
Oh, all the time. It's one of the most common ways to describe feeling unwell. If you catch the flu, you don't just feel average, you feel lousy. It captures that miserable, unwell state perfectly.
And for excuses.
Perfect for dismissing inadequate explanations. Saying, that's a lousy excuse for being late, immediately signals that the reason given isn't just weak, it's completely unacceptable, poorly thought out. While it is informal, understanding lousy is absolutely essential for comprehending everyday native dialogue. You'll hear it a lot.
Okay, this feels like a good point to transition. We've covered external assessment. Now let's dive into internal human dynamics. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Focusing on character, what drives us, and the ways we handle pressure and difficulty.
Good transition. Starting with that internal drive, let's look at ambitious. This is defined by that strong, sometimes relentless desire for success, power, achievement, being aspiring, driven, eager.
And the scale of ambition can be huge, right? It's
Yeah.
not just personal goals. We talk about ambitious goals like starting a large-scale business. That requires massive commitment, funding, pure drive.
Absolutely. Or the word can define the complexity of the task itself. You might embark on an ambitious project, one that needs a large, specialized team and significant resources just to even attempt it.
And of course, it applies strongly in academics. An ambitious student aiming for those top, highly competitive universities, driven by that desire for excellence.
Closely related to drive, but more rooted in morality, or sometimes utility, is the word virtue. Now, this one needs careful attention because it has a powerful dual meaning.
Okay, two meanings for virtue.
Yes. First, the most common one, moral excellence or a positive character trait. We say things like, patience is a virtue in teaching. Here, patience is defined as an inherently good characteristic.
Right, that's the common understanding. What's the second meaning?
The second meaning is critical for more sophisticated writing. Virtue can also mean a benefit, an advantage, or a merit that isn't necessarily moral. Synonyms here might be advantage, merit, benefit, asset.
Ah, I see. So you could say...
You could construct a sentence like, the virtue of this complex plan is its simplicity. Here, simplicity isn't a moral judgment. It's the advantageous quality, the selling point, the benefit.
That's a really useful distinction.
Being able to wield virtue in both senses, the ethical and utilitarian, is a definite mark of advanced lexical control.
Okay. Now, when that ambition or drive meets obstacles, we need words for handling the difficulty. The primary tool seems to be to cope.
Yes. To cope, it's all about effective management in the face of difficulty. To manage, handle, deal with, endure something tough. It implies resilience, adaptation, not just giving up.
So it involves active strategies.
Exactly. For example, coping with stress through meditation highlights a chosen strategy for managing internal pressure. Or in a work context, management might question if an employee can cope with the increased workload. It's a direct assessment of their ability to manage demands.
And it applies to big life changes too.
Definitely. When external forces mandate huge shifts, like relocation, families have to cope with the changes. They endure the disruption and adapt. It's a key word for describing resilience against external stressors.
So if coping is the active process, what's the result?
Well, often the desired result, or the support mechanism, is comfort. Comfort is that state of solace, relief, or reassurance, and it works on both physical and emotional levels.
Right. Physically, like a comfortable chair.
Exactly. A well-designed ergonomic chair offers great comfort for long hours of work or study, provides physical ease.
And emotionally.
Emotionally, and perhaps more profoundly, friends provided comfort during her loss. They offered that necessary consolation, reassurance, the alleviation of distress. It's about lessening pain, whether it's physical or emotional.
Okay, let's pivot now from coping and comfort to, well, the opposite, conflict and irritation. This language is essential for talking about human interaction when things go wrong.
Absolutely. And we can start with perhaps the most aggressive term here, hostile. This means showing active opposition or dislike. It's overtly antagonistic, aggressive, or unfriendly.
You hear this in business, right?
Yes. In high-stakes environments, hostility can almost be institutionalized. Think of the hostile takeover in finance, an aggressive move against the wishes of the target company's management.
Or dealing with people.
A speaker might have to address a hostile crowd, an audience that's actively opposed to their message. And generally, the advice for civil discussion is always to avoid hostile language in debates. The word really signals deliberate provocation or antagonism.
Okay, what's a step down from hostile?
That might be dispute. A dispute is a formal disagreement or controversy. It often implies there's a process needed for resolution, making it a bit more formal than just an argument.
So like international relations?
Precisely. A border dispute between countries requires diplomatic negotiation. Or in professional settings, maybe legal parties resolve the dispute through mediation, indicating a structured approach to finding agreement.
Can it be used more generally?
Yes, sometimes it just expresses certainty, like there's no dispute about the facts of the case, meaning the facts are settled and not up for argument.
Okay, what if something is just unpleasant?
Then you might use disagreeable. If a situation, a thing, or even a person is disagreeable, it means it's generally unpleasant, offensive, or distasteful in manner or nature. Think objectionable, nasty, unpalatable.
So it can apply to external factors.
Yes, like the weather turning disagreeable with heavy rain and cold wind, unfavorable conditions. Or it can apply to behavior. A disagreeable attitude ruined the team meeting. It carries less aggression than hostile, more just simple unpleasantness. It can even apply to taste or smell sometimes.
Now, moving from general unpleasantness to more temporary moods, cranky.
Ah, yes, cranky. We all know this one. It's that temporary irritability or bad temper. Synonyms like grumpy, cross, peevish.
And it's often linked to physical needs, right? Like tiredness or hunger.
Very often. A toddler gets cranky after missing a nap. An adult, myself included sometimes, gets cranky when hungry. It's usually a passing irritability rooted in some basic physical or emotional deficit.
We had a moment like that before we started recording, didn't we? The coffee machine was broken.
Huh. Yes, I believe cranky might have been an understatement for a moment there. A perfect real-world example of how quickly a minor deficit can affect mood.
And the lesson holds for professional life, too.
Absolutely.
Right.
You have to avoid cranky responses in customer service situations, no matter how you're feeling.
Okay, stepping back into deliberate social conflict, but maybe less intense than hostile. Mean.
Yes, mean. Defined as unkind or spiteful in behavior. Mean implies intentional cruelty or malice, but often on a smaller, more personal scale than outright hostility.
Like playground stuff sometimes.
It can be, yes. The examples are relatable. Mean comments hurt her feelings, using unkind words intentionally to inflict pain. Or warnings against cruelty. Don't be mean to animals. Even a so-called joke, if it's spiteful, can be mean. A mean prank backfired, showing that these actions often have negative consequences, even for the person doing them.
And the absolute strongest word for intense dislike.
That would be hate. To loathe, detest, despise. It expresses a really powerful aversion.
This can be moral, right?
Yes, someone might say, I hate injustice in any form, a strong moral stance. Or it can be purely personal preference. Someone hates the texture of certain foods like mushrooms or something.
It's a very strong word.
It is, and generally it should be reserved for those truly intense aversions. The broader context in our materials wisely encourages tolerance, reminding us not to direct hate towards others based on superficial differences.
That's a good point. Now, that cluster disagreeable, cranky, mean, hostile, hate gives us a whole spectrum for describing friction. But there's one very serious word included here we need to address. Murderer.
Yes, a very serious term, formally defined as a person who kills another human being unlawfully and with premeditated intent. Malice aforethought is key.
And for an advanced learner, just knowing the definition isn't really enough, is it?
No, not at all. You should be able to instantly connect it to related legal vocabulary. That shows true lexical mastery, differentiating it from concepts like manslaughter or homicide, which might lack that premeditation element.
So the contexts are usually legal or fictional.
Primarily, yes. In real life, the focus is on the investigation, the apprehension of the murderer. In fiction, the word is a powerful plot device. Often the identity of the murderer is revealed as the least suspected character, creating that classic plot twist. Knowing related terms like assassin, killer, perpetrator helps you use murderer with precision.
Okay, let's shift gears completely now.
Good idea, because language fluency at a high level also means sophisticated handling of information. It involves forecasting, interpreting information, and managing reputation. This next section focuses on how we look ahead, process what's happening now, and talk about those who command attention, for good or bad reasons.
Right. Starting with looking ahead to foretell. That sounds a bit old-fashioned, like predicting the future.
It can sound that way, yes, to predict, forecast, prophesy what will happen, but it's crucial to differentiate between modern, data-driven prediction and the more, let's say, mystical or ancient types.
Okay, so how is it used now?
Well, analytical forecasting relies on evidence. Economists foretell market trends using current data and complex models. Or we rely on modern tools. A sophisticated weather app can foretell rain with amazing accuracy based on atmospheric data.
But still carries that older meaning too.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of the word. It perfectly describes ancient beliefs, the classic image. Ancient oracles or soothsayers who are believed to foretell destinies or major events. So its dual nature shows the wide application of predicting the future, whether it's based on science or myth.
Okay. The opposite of paying attention to the future, or anything really, is to ignore.
Right. To ignore, to refuse to take notice of or acknowledge something. To actively disregard, overlook, or neglect.
And ignoring things can be dangerous.
It certainly can, especially when it comes to warnings. We're strongly advised, for instance, not to ignore the warning signs of illness or a failing machine or financial trouble. It speaks directly to the potential consequences of neglect, that willful failure to address a critical problem.
But sometimes ignoring is a choice, right? A deliberate non-response.
Absolutely. Someone might choose to ignore rude or malicious comments online, deciding that the source or the content just isn't worth their emotional energy. That's a valid coping strategy sometimes.
But we shouldn't ignore rules.
Generally not, especially when safety is involved. Ignoring traffic rules, for example, often leads directly to preventable accidents. The consequences are too severe.
Okay. Next, we have a phrasal verb that sounds quite formal, important for academic writing. To bear on slough.
Yes, to bear on something. Absolutely critical for formal contexts. It means to be relevant to or to have a clear influence on something. To affect or relate to a situation.
So it's like influence or effect, but more formal.
Exactly. Its utility lies in that formality and precision. While you could use simpler verbs, to bear on is particularly powerful for connecting concepts clearly and showing a direct relevance. For instance, new evidence bears on the outcome of the trial. It directly impacts the decision.
And for analysis, like impact assessment.
Extensively used there, you might ask. How exactly does climate change bear on global agricultural yields? It forces a detailed analysis of the influence one factor has on another within a complex system.
Does it apply personally, too?
Beautifully. Past experiences bear on future choices. Personal history bears on professional decisions. When you're writing essays, using to bear on really elevates the sophistication when you're linking different factors or arguments.
Okay, moving into clarity and interpretation. First up, apparent.
Apparent, meaning clearly visible, easily understood, or evident. Synonyms like obvious, clear.
It often describes that moment of realization, right?
Yes, it became immediately apparent that he was lying. The truth is suddenly unveiled, clear to the observer.
But there's a nuance here, isn't there? A potential trap.
Ah, yes. The linguistic nuance that advanced learners absolutely must grasp. Apparent can also refer to something that seems true but might not actually be accurate in the end.
Like in results.
Exactly. The apparent winner was announced early. This implies that at that moment they seem like the winner, but a final count or later information might change the official result. That slight ambiguity, is it clearly true or just seemingly true, is a frequent source of misunderstanding if you're not careful.
So if information isn't apparent, it might be unstated.
Precisely. Unstated, meaning not expressed openly or explicitly. It's unspoken, implicit, or tacit.
This sounds important for communication breakdowns or hidden meanings.
Very much so. There might be an unstated agreement between business partners relying on shared history and trust rather than a formal written contract.
Or cultural norms.
Exactly how cultural norms often function. Unstated rules of etiquette or professional conduct in a workplace, you learn them over time through observation and context, not because someone explicitly lists them out. It's an indispensable word for any kind of cultural or interpersonal analysis.
Which leads us nicely to maybe the most technical word in this group. Construction. But not building something.
Right. No, not building a house. We're talking about its literary or linguistic meaning. How language is formed, or critically, the interpretation that's derived from that language. The key synonyms here are construal, reading, understanding.
Okay, so this is about interpretation.
Vitally important when discussing ambiguity. If you're analyzing a legal document, the precise construction of a specific clause might be open to debate. Experts might argue about the intended meaning based on the wording.
And personal bias plays a role.
Heavily. Her construction of the events differed wildly from his. This shows that interpretation is rarely purely objective. It's shaped by individual experiences, perspectives, biases. Using construction correctly elevates any critical discussion about communication, rhetoric, or analyzing texts way beyond just talking about meaning.
Okay, shifting focus now to reputation, specifically negative fame. The word is infamous.
Yes, infamous, meaning well-known, but for some terrible quality, deed, or history. It's notorious or scandalous.
So it's definitely bad fame, the opposite of famous.
Emphatically the opposite. You might read about an infamous criminal known for scandalous acts. The notoriety comes solely from the negativity.
Can it apply to places or things too?
Absolutely. A city might become infamous for its terrible traffic jams or its pollution. A negative reputation it's unfortunately earned and is widely known for. Or think of a political speech. It might be branded an infamous speech if it caused widespread controversy and outrage.
Right, and closing out this information section, a very common informal word, rubbish.
Rubbish! Defined simply as something utterly worthless, nonsensical, or just trash. Think garbage, drivel, balderdash.
It sounds very British sometimes.
It is particularly common in UK English, yes, but widely understood. It's highly effective for a strong, dismissive statement. If you encounter blatant misinformation, you might declare, "That's absolute rubbish, don't believe a word of it." It completely dismisses the information as false.
Or criticizing someone's argument.
Yes, he talked absolute rubbish during the entire meeting, meaning his points were senseless, poorly formed, maybe irrelevant. And metaphorically, you might advise someone to clear out the rubbish from their mind, discard useless or negative thoughts to focus on what's constructive.
Okay, let's unpack this. Maybe shift into a final, more rapid-fire collection of words. These seem essential for just describing the everyday world around us: objects, senses, commerce, contemporary life.
Sounds good. We need to give these diverse terms the same level of contextual depth, even if we move a bit quicker.
Agreed. Let's start with senses and emotions. Aromatic.
Aromatic, lovely word. It means having a pleasant, often distinct, and quite pervasive smell. Specifically fragrant or scented.
It's usually a word of praise for scents, isn't it?
Always positive, yes. Very common in culinary contexts. Aromatic herbs and spices enhancing a dish's flavor and bouquet. Or, for well-being, lighting an aromatic candle for relaxation. Or in nature, aromatic flowers in a garden. It always implies an appealing, soothing, or maybe stimulating scent.
Okay. From smell to sound or feeling. Mirth.
Ugh, mirth. Pure joy, really. It's amusement, especially expressed through laughter. Sheer, unadulterated fun or hilarity.
So it describes an atmosphere.
It can define the atmosphere of a gathering, a party filled with uncontrolled mirth and laughter, or it can describe the cause. His unexpected jokes brought genuine mirth to a serious audience. It signals a joyful, celebratory, festive environment.
And for movement, maybe linked to emotion too, to quake.
To quake means to shake or tremble violently. Now, we often think of this seismically, don't we? The ground beginning to quake during an earthquake.
Right. But it's used metaphorically too.
Oh, very effectively, especially for describing extreme emotional responses. Someone might quake with fear in a tense situation, trembling uncontrollably from raw emotion. It can also describe less dramatic natural phenomena, like leaves quaked in the strong wind, that continuous visible tremor.
Okay, let's move into commerce and some specific items. The middleman.
The middleman. An intermediary, a broker, an agent, someone who facilitates trade or a deal between two other parties, the primary parties.
So they connect buyers and sellers.
Exactly. They act as that connector in a supply chain or transaction. Economically, though, the phrase is often associated with inefficiency or added cost. You frequently hear businesses advertise the benefit of cutting out the middleman to save money, implying direct dealing is cheaper for the consumer.
Makes sense. Related to commerce. Paper money.
Paper money. Pretty straightforward. Currency in the form of banknotes, or simply notes, bills, cash.
Why use this term specifically?
Usually to distinguish it from metal currency paying with paper money instead of heavy coins. Also in discussions about crime, like counterfeit paper money, which remains a serious issue. And of course, in contemporary discussions about global trends where digital payments are rapidly replacing physical paper money.
Okay, a couple of specific items now. A Macintosh.
Ah, yes, a Macintosh. Often shortened to Mac in the UK. It's simply a specific type of waterproof raincoat, a slicker, refers to protective outerwear, particularly suitable for rainy climates, a classic British item, really.
And a pocketbook. Not a wallet.
No, not quite a wallet, though related in size sometimes. A pocketbook is traditionally a small notebook, maybe leather-bound, perfectly sized for carrying in a pocket, a jotter or a memo pad.
What's it used for?
Recording spontaneous ideas, quick observations. Historically, you might think of professionals like detectives carrying one for field notes. Losing your pocketbook could mean losing critical, fleeting information.
Got it. And finally in this group, selection.
Selection. The action of carefully choosing someone or something. Or it can refer to the range available. A choice, variety, or assortment.
So it has a couple of angles.
Yes. It can describe the variety offered. The library offers a wide selection of books, or it can describe the process of being chosen based on merit. Her rigorous selection for the team was well-deserved, and it's often used in advice. Make a careful selection when choosing your course. It implies thoughtful choosing.
Okay, nearly there. Let's look at function and time. To function.
To function simply means to work, operate, or perform in the proper or intended way.
Applies to machines.
Most frequently, yes. The new machine functions best in cool conditions. But also to biology. All the major organs function together harmoniously in the body.
And purpose.
Crucially, yes, it applies to purpose. A new app functions effectively as a live translator. It means it successfully serves that specific intended role.
And our very last word today. Seems simple, but maybe not.
Well, it's simple in meaning, but its usage is important. As an adverb or noun meaning in modern times nowadays, currently, these days.
So it's used to contrast with the past.
Primarily, yes, to highlight contemporary trends. For example, today, technology shapes our lives in unprecedented ways. It acts as a powerful anchor when you're making historical comparisons, like noting that international travel is dramatically easier today than it was 50 years ago. It sets the current context.
Wow, okay. That was a lot of ground covered.
It was, indeed. So what does this all mean for you, the learner? We've really journeyed through a huge range of vocabulary, haven't we? From those foundational actions like administer and maintain.
Right, the setting up and keeping going.
through precise quality assessment, using words like appreciable and steering clear of the mediocre. Then diving deep into complex human dynamics involving hostile conflict, ambitious drive, personal virtue.
And the information side, too.
Crucially, yes, we dissected words for information management and interpretation, like construction and unstated. Using this breadth, the synonyms, the nuances, the specific contexts, is exactly what demonstrates that lexical control. It differentiates a high-scoring candidate from one who's just, well, adequate.
So it's about having the right tool for the job, the ability to shift seamlessly from describing a lousy excuse in a chat to discussing the infamous actions of a public figure in a formal essay, and then maybe analyzing the legal construction of a tricky document. That's advanced fluency in action. These words are the toolkit for real nuance.
They're not just definitions on a page. They're instruments for expressing sophisticated thought clearly and precisely.
Which brings us perfectly to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Take those principles we discussed about information and ambiguity. How can you apply the combination of understanding potentially infamous rhetoric and the concept of linguistic construction to the everyday media messages you encounter? When you read an article, watch a report, see an advert, are you consciously trying to interpret the unstated meaning, the implicit cultural or political message? Are you analyzing that as carefully as you analyze the apparent surface-level message?
Oh, that's a good challenge.
Thinking that way, actively constructing the meaning behind the apparent meaning, will make you a far more critical and ultimately more powerful user of the English language.
A fantastic challenge for self-reflection indeed.
If you found this deep dive useful, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
And we'll be back soon to dive deep into the next set of essential words.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.